Hi, welcome to the lesson. This is just about it for me. We're looking at a long day here, but we've had a great time recording a lot of music and hopefully sharing some information with you. So let's go ahead and get some rock and roll out of our system with this next lesson. Okay, what do you think of when you hear stuff like or this? Well, I don't think there's any question. We're talking about the Stones, okay? So what is it that the Stones have that defines them so strongly immediately when you hear their music? It has a lot to do with the feel of the guitars and the grooves that they play. They're just basic blues, rock, and roll, and you can't deny that you recognize the Stones from their sound immediately when you hear their music. And it has a lot to do with Keith Richards' guitar style. And a lot of the parts that he comes up with for rhythm guitar parts that become signatures for the songs are based around simple uses of triads and combining triads together to make cool little parts. Okay? So I came up with a kind of a cop of a Stones kind of feeling tune that you can also download along with this lesson and print out. And it also has some examples of what actually to think about for playing over the top of it for jamming. But let's just go over the simple chords here, and I'll explain the progression that I've also written in on the board behind me. Okay, so what I've got here is something that really defines to me what the essence of the Stones are all about, and it's this typical this major chord that has another major chord, a fourth above, superimposed on top. So many of their songs have that in them. Right? So I thought I'd build a whole progression around that concept. So in the key of A, it's really nice because you can hammer on the D chord that I've got right here and just keep that A ringing. So you can go. Right? And it works beautifully for that because the A is constant against that. Okay? If you wanted to make it a movable shape, you could also just play the A with your fourth finger. And you could do it that way. Okay? So I started off with that idea. I'll just come up with something. I thought that's kind of cool, but where am I going to go with that? So I figured, well, why don't we go up to the 4 chord and do the exact same thing? So that's what I did. I used D, and I played it here. Only this time I don't have the open string, so I don't use it. I just play these 3 notes, and then I hammer onto the G triad, a smaller version of this chord, which is that's all I really need is these 3 notes to make the sound of G. And the bass is playing, so it sounds complete without the bass. I could play it if I wanted to. But you don't have to if you don't want to. You can just play. Just don't hit the bottom open strings now because they're not going to be part of the chord. Okay? And so after I go to the 4 chord there on that second line, I go back down to the A sound again. And I keep playing the same rhythm over the top of the I don't write it anymore, but I want you to know that I'm still playing it, okay? And then finally, I go to the 5 chord, and I use the exact same rhythm, right? You can see where I started right there. And once again, if I wanted to include the root, I could just play it here. I go back to A again. And I go back to the E just to drive it home. Okay? So let's listen to how that's going to sound with our drums and get a little bit more of a feel for the tune. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here comes the D chord. Chord. Here we go. Back to the A. Here we go. Okay, so you can see with just a simple device like that, like triads, just basic triad chords that we've learned, combined together, you create an instantly definable sort of vibe with chords that really typifies a lot of rock and blues and R&B, but especially the Rolling Stones. Okay? So I want you to make sure you print this chart out because you're going to want to look at this and see what I want you to play over the top of it. Okay? So let me demonstrate a little bit of the sound of how I would think Keith Richards might approach playing just some lead stuff over that. Keith Richards isn't a technically brilliant guitar player, but what he has is a lot of attitude and a lot of feel and a lot of rhythm soul. And I think that's what makes his style so appealing. It's not about playing flashy notes. It's about playing a couple of notes and really making them sound good. So here's how we might approach something like this. Here we go. 2,